Hi, and thanks for joining us on another episode of Sealed for Good. As we continue to look at the latest AS 3740 wet area standard and the impending rollout of NCC scheduled for May this year. In today's episode, we'll be focusing on surface falls as it represents one of the more notable challenges and rethink of the waterproofing design and installation. And just to preface this episode, we are going to be focusing more on falls in relation to the waterproofing system. So let's get straight into it with a passage from Appendix B under the AS 3740 Internal Wet Area Standard. The primary consideration for falls in floor finishes is to ensure water does not remain on the finished floor in a manner that can adversely affect health or amenities of the occupants or deteriorate building elements. In other words, using falls to prevent water ponding on the surface, which is also defined under Appendix B, as when conditions are suitable for drying and all other associated areas have dried, any remaining accumulation of water is deemed ponding. Water retained by surface tension alone should evaporate within 5 hours when conditions are 21 degrees Celsius and 50% relative humidity. To understand how standards specifically address falls, we need to turn to page 8 of the standard. The requirements and scope for falls are detailed under 3 categories, ranked on the criticality for drainage. For example, Category 1 relates to falls in shower floor finishes. This is considered the most critical area and the fall of 1 in 80 is required. Requirements for Category 2 and 3 areas are listed respectively. So how has this changed from the previous standard? The change relates specifically to the falls relative to the waterproofing system as defined under point 2.3.1, where it states, where a floor waste is required in a wet area, the membrane shall be applied to a substrate with a minimum 1 in 100 fall towards the floor waste. So currently it's not uncommon to apply a waterproofing membrane to a shower area over a flat, ungraded floor, followed by a screed to generate the required fall and then tiled. Waterproofing over the screed can be considered best practice, but it's not mandatory. Now the membrane will need to be applied over a surface with a fall. So if the substrate does not have the built-in fall, a screed will need to be installed with fall and the waterproofing applied over this. This new provision is an extension of the latest NCC standard where Volumes 1 and 2 are amended to require bathrooms and laundries where a floor waste is installed to have a fall of the floor in order to help drain the surface. This also applies to floor waste included voluntarily. So what are the advantages or positives of this new requirement? Having a floor waste in a flat ungraded floor is counterintuitive as it increases the chance of subtile subscreed moisture, even more so when a membrane has not been installed over the screed. So this new directive can be seen as a positive, logical step in reducing common risk associated with ungraded surfaces including tile delamination and drumminess, screed absorption and deterioration, mold buildup, efflorescence, development and migration, added strain and early deterioration of the waterproofing membrane system as well as the tile system. Let's explore the relationship between falls and the membrane placement a little further to show where challenges may arise and where things may get confusing. The extent of the membrane application under the latest AS 3740 is still governed by enclosed versus unenclosed showers. If we take a type 2 unenclosed shower, the requirement is that the membrane needs to extend 1500 millimeters out from the shower rose. Therefore, that entire 1500 millimeter arc out from the shower rose needs to have a fall to a waste. This may present a challenge for screed requirements in the shower versus outside the shower, particularly if there are multiple wastes in the floor area. So provisions for singular waste with screeding entire falls to a wet area have been included in the new standard. So with the new amendments to the standard, what changes might we see from a waterproofing installation viewpoint? We may see reduction in the scope of waterproofing requirements where the extent of the waterproofing is contained. Example, seeing more enclosed showers. May no longer see builders include voluntary waste as more work involved generating falls or building substrates outside of Category 1 areas to falls. Rely on vanities and with built-in overflows. May see increases in under-over screed applications in shower areas. Increase the scope for waterproofing to unenclosed showers. Provisions for entire floor screeding and waterproofing. Considerations for builders and architects. A greater emphasis on bathroom design to meet the requirement of the standards. For example, finish heights at doorways, tile dimensions, bigger tiles, understanding how the type of shower design will impact and determine falls, practically of placement of drainage relative to the shower and general bathroom design, practicality of constructing surfaces or installing substrates with falls, scheduling of screeding and waterproofing works if needed to generate falls, practical inclusions of voluntary drainage when considering requirements for falls, screed design, bringing screed engineered mixers into the spotlight for consistency and to avoid common issues associated with site mixers. For example, mechanically weak, high sand, low cement ratios, high water ratio, highly absorbent, friable, prone to cracking and dusting. Thanks for joining us today. We hope you found this episode of Sealed for Good informative. Stay tuned for our next installment, where we continue to explore the new changes to AS 3740 Internal Wet Area Standard.